Figured I would do a video of my old Town PDL kayak shed since I've had a lot of responses to the photos I posted online. But basically, this is the exterior of the shed. It is just 1x6 wood boards on the outside with 2x4s. I got some 4x4s on the inside to frame it. I'll put the frame in the description below so you can kind of see the plans from a SketchUp perspective. SketchUp's a free app I used online to design it in CAD, but just real quick on the outside, a slanted roof, of course. I'm in Canada. It's up to code for snow weight, but of course for shedding rain and everything else. If you notice down below, I've got some chicken wire down below. That's to keep the bigger critters out. I had some problems with woodchucks on previous sheds in the past, so that keeps the bigger critters, like I said, kind of out of the shed. It's all buried under the river wash that's there, at least by a foot, so that way it deters any kind of digging beneath. Just the framing is just to kind of keep it a little tidier. You can see I've got some venting at the top here. That was actually an afterthought. If I had planned it out a little bit differently, I would have done it a little more cleanly, but it's thrown up on top there. Just a quick door. There's another vent on the far end as well. It's not quite as elaborate, but it allows some air ventilation. Before I open it up, a couple things about ventilation. I was asked about that online a few times. You can see on the bottom edge here, there's about a 1/4 inch to 1/2 inch gap for airflow. And then if you go over to the higher side of this, over here, you'll notice I got about a 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch gap all the way along. So there's already quite a bit of airflow. If you're in warmer climates and you're worried about insects or whatnot, you could easily throw some screen on there and break that in. I don't get a ton of wasps being in Canada. There's just not a lot of those. So, and if I do, I'll just open it up, take the kayaks out, and spray some wasp killer in there. But basically, I just have a lock on it. Pretty simple stuff. Kind of keeps it all tidy. Let me just open this up real fast. And yeah, so here's the boats on the inside. So basically this door just swings all the way open. I've got lots of room back here to pull my boats out between these two trees. And what I discovered, a couple tips. At first when I put these together, I had 4-inch PVC bunks and I had cut those at 45-degree angles, but I found that putting the boats on them, when I was pulling them off, the PVC was actually cutting into the bottom of the boats, and I had to repair the boats myself with a heat gun just to get rid of some of those grooves that were being cut into them. So what I ended up doing is I PVC welded some 45-degree angles on those. What's great about that is the 45-degree angle is just deeper than the front end where the transducer mount is on these boats. And so when you're pulling them out, let me just pull this one out here real quick. It kind of drops into place as you push it in, and I'll see if I can demonstrate that now. So you give it a bit of a push, it'll kind of fall. That's when you know the front end of that boat has just gone over the 45-degree angle. And the nice thing about it is because they're just a little hair lower, maybe about 1/2 inch lower than the actual front of the, again, transducer mount, it pulls up nice and neatly over this. They're real smooth. I went through the trouble of sanding down these edges so that they wouldn't catch. I've sanded down the edges around here so nothing catches as I'm pulling the boat out, nice and smooth. I have a 10.5 footer and a 12 footer in here. So what I've done is I've designed the bunks so that if I ever upgrade the 10.5 to 12 footer, I can go in there. I'm a pretty limber, thin guy. I can get in there. I can actually take out this bunk, move these bunks over, and now I've got automatically space for another 12 footer because the 12 footer is longer in the back. You have to inset it a little bit further. For those that are curious, it is a 14.5 foot long structure. About 5 to 6 feet tall after you put it on cement blocks, 23 inches high between each bunk. That just gives me enough room so when I'm pulling it out I can raise the boats without banging into any of the wood above them. Everything's braced on the inside. You know, again, with snow load I really got to over-engineer this thing for where I live. And yeah, you can see kind of the frame at the bottom a little bit there. Just real simple stuff. I have no qualms about weight or anything else. I got a lot of bunks that go through there. I've also only bolted the very front and the very back of these. I don't bolt them all the way along. The reason why I do that is if I ever want to just widen them a little bit at the back, I can just undo those 2 bolts, move it over, and then I can adjust it as I need to. If I had bolts all along, I'd have to go in there and adjust everything. A couple other things too. You see I got fabric up here. That's because the wood panels on the outside, the 1x6 panels, as they dry, are going to space out a little bit, as most fencing does. And so I didn't want the sunlight, which hits that in the morning, to really affect the boats, since the boats are, they can be affected by UV. And so I added some weed screen to the inside of here, and I just basically stapled it. And I did so at the very back as well, and that just keeps the sunlight from kicking in here in the mornings and hitting the boats. I don't really have concerns on the other side, since my neighbor's house is right there, and that basically works that way. So, and then for the bottom one here, try to do this, I'll get my fingers in the way, but just pull out the boat like that. You got lots of room. Slides on no problem. Goes real smooth. Lots of room, easy to pull out now. The great thing about this is, because it's a little bit higher, I can put my my wilderness cart beneath it, pull it out, drop it on the wilderness cart, strap it, and then keep pulling it out, and I can wheel it right back in. I can do the same thing with the top one. It's a bit more of an angle, but I always put the straps for the wilderness cart through the actual handles, and so that straps it, keeps it really tight, and piece of cake to pull them in and out. That's kind of it, really. I mean, that's my shed. That's what I've done. Reason why I did 14 and a half feet, I guess one last thing, is I have a tandem Jackson kayak that I was considering potentially putting in here. So I wanted to have the extra length so that I could throw that in here if I wanted to. But yeah, that's it. Hopefully it helps some folks out and you get some more information out of it. Thanks.